Welcome to Wealth Preservation Solutions. I'm Elizabeth DeLeo, Director of Family Offices. Kevin Ellman, CFP, our CEO, is with me again today, and we're just going to be talking about some timely topics with some relevant current events that have happened throughout this recent week. Hi, Kevin.
Morning. How are you?
I'm pretty well, thanks. It's been a week.
It's been a crazy time. Crazy time.
Yes,
Yeah.
there have been a lot of things happening. The specifically in the direction of the settlement of the presidential election. And so you and I have had several conversations, as usual, throughout the week with various clients and partners alike. And we recognize that there's one particular theme of questions that have been presented. So why don't you share with us and our audience of what that question is, and we can kind of talk through it a little.
Well, the question is almost always, what do you think I should do now?
Yeah.
And we actually had quite a few clients who were waiting on the sidelines to see what was going to happen with the Georgia election and to see if the presidents would be certified, and were waiting to decide, how to deploy some of their funds, or maybe to become more conservative. So this last week we had several meetings where we had this exact discussion. And I'll share with you what I told them. So to me, it's a mixed picture. I was actually surprised when the Georgia election produced two Democratic senators, so that there's basically a split in the Senate with Kamala Harris, being able to cast the deciding vote.
Right.
And most people thought the market was going to tank if that happened. And surprisingly, the market went up, 3 days in a row.
Right. Why do you think that is? I mean, it really did throw everyone for a loop, ourselves included. So here we are in a very unexpected situation. We're not complaining, but what, in your opinion, why do you think that may be?
I think there are a couple of reasons. The number one reason is that no matter what the result is, markets like certainty.
It's true.
So at least now we know this is the situation, and now we can plan accordingly.
Right.
So that, I think, is the biggest factor. And then the other factor is, I think it looks like the stimulus program is going to continue to be strong. And, one of our basic rules is don't fight the Fed. So the Federal Reserve Bank is determined to keep rates low for a long period of time to support growth in the economy. A lot of people are betting that Biden is going to initiate a significant infrastructure spending program, which will, create jobs and obviously improve our infrastructure nationally. So there'll be a lot of spending there.
Right.
And then it also looks like the $2,000, COVID relief bill will, be passed.
Right.
And there'll be more relief for many Americans. And then finally, it looks like sometime in 2021, we are going to have a vaccine.
Right.
So you put all that.
Go ahead. I mean, the vaccine in and of itself, I think, is going to present that next layer of recovery for the country, right? Not just from the people who are actually recovering from COVID from a medical standpoint, but just that belief in the next step and that we're going to be able to resume a sense of normalcy as we had pre-COVID.
Yeah. So once it looks like the majority of the country has been vaccinated, I think people will start to feel safe going back to normal, going out to restaurants,
Right.
getting on a plane, traveling, staying in hotels.
Right.
And that'll bring a lot of people back to work and put a lot of people back in business. So I think that's a big, big factor. And it's going to happen. It's just a question of, is it going to be, May, June, July, or August? But it's going to happen.
Right. And, I had heard you say something earlier, and I had read and heard similar things in that, we had heard, or rather than expecting a blue wave, that we had experienced a blue ripple. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. So the biggest fear is that a united Democratic White House, Congress, and House and Senate could pass major tax legislation, which would affect income taxes, capital gains, and business taxes.
Right.
And that that could happen, but it's going to be tight. So I think there'll be some increases, but I don't think that they're going to be as bad as we anticipated.
Right.
At least that's what it looks like today. And of course, it all depends.
Right.
But that's what it looks like. And we're almost definitely going to see, more regulatory action, probably increasing regulations. So that's why, on one hand, you've got the stimulus program, infrastructure spending, the $2,000, the vaccine, that's going to, boost the economy. And on the flip side, the negatives are there'll probably be some tax increase, but maybe not as bad as we thought, and some regulatory increase, perhaps not as bad as we thought. So that's why we say it's a blue ripple. The Democrats will be able to have, some influence, but they're going to have to stay towards the center. And it's not going to be this, I don't think there'll be this major move to the left.
Right.
Sorry, to the left.
Right. When we're confused, right? I guess it depends on which way we're looking.
I can't tell if I'm looking which way, the way I'm looking at them.
Well, wherever you are, to members of our audience, just think left.
I don't think it's going to be that bad.
Right, exactly. So what's interesting to me is when we talk about waves and ripples, what does it remind us of? Water, right? And water is fluid, obviously, but it's constantly moving. It's constantly changing, whether it's a lake and it's changing its, consistency from water to ice, or if it's the ocean and the tides coming in or tides coming out. My point is this: it's a constantly changing environment. The one constant is that something will change with it on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And so, as a fisherwoman, fisherman, as a boater, these are very important things to stay mindful of. But no matter what, the ultimate destination is the same. And as a boater, I would want to stay the course, right? No matter what's happening inside of that water, I would want to stay the course. So can you spend a minute, one of the things that you had mentioned earlier is, what do I do now? Sure. So based on what my course of action was pre-settlement of the election, what should I do now that we have some certainty?
Okay. So I'll give you an example of two client discussions we had this week. We had one client who was adding new money and was waiting until the vote to decide whether to invest it in stocks or bonds. We decided to take that new money and invest it in stocks, because we do think that the stock market is going to be higher significantly at the end of the year than it is now. And then we had another client who was considering maybe taking some stock money off the table and buying bonds instead. And we ultimately decided, not to do that. Let's just leave the allocation the way it is. And my view is I'm still comfortable with the stock market. I believe the economy will recover mostly as a result of the vaccine. And then I think we'll start to move forward. So I'd rather be invested than not invested. I certainly don't want to become more conservative.
Right.
I don't think this is a great time to be investing in bonds anyway. There's just no yield.
Right.
So my feeling at this point is that let's stay invested and stick with the plan.
Okay. Sounds good. Do you have any final thoughts for our audience?
No, that's it. I think, the analogy you use with the boating, I was a sailor when I was growing up. And when you're sailing, you can't make any big moves. You can't make a drastic change because of the, you create any turbulence in the water, the boat slows down.
Right.
So I'm a big believer in making, gradual, slow changes. Let's not go crazy. Let's just make gradual, slow changes. And unless, of course, there's a storm.
Right.
And we're going to keep our eye on the horizon. But, at the moment I don't think there's a storm on the horizon. So I think we're okay.
Okay. Well, as always, very helpful. Thank you for joining me today. And to our audience, if you'd like more information, please visit our website, wealthpreservationsolutions.com, or you may text us you could text WEALTH to 88799. And what I'd like to share with you today is that we have a little bit of news. Kevin has been working very hard with our president, Paul Miller, to form a new book. And we're hoping that that'll be available. Kevin, where is that going to be available? Is it going to be available on Amazon or?
Well, it'll certainly be available on Amazon.
Okay.
And in hardcover. And it's going to be probably, I would say February we'll release it.
Okay, great. So keep an eye out for it. Kevin and I will send out some more information around the book itself so that you'll know what it is that you can look forward to. And until then, we appreciate your time. Stay happy, stay healthy, and stay wealthy. Bye.
Bye.
For your free copy of Kevin's book, The 7 Biggest Money Mistakes People Make and How to Avoid Them, just text WEALTH to 88799.